Okay, we're back for the second part of lesson 5. So we set keyframes at the beginning of pictures 5 and 6. Remember that it was one keyframe at 11:5. I'll zoom in. The next keyframe at a larger number. I believe for this one it was 17. For you it's something else. And the third keyframe, 3 frames later, went back to the original number 11:5. We did the same thing to this picture by whatever numbers that we're using for your pictures. Remember, they're not going to be the same because they're not always the same size. The second base beat starts right here at 1919. I already moved over into position. Get rid of this. So I'm going to set my first keyframe again. Now, since I've already set the stopwatch, I can't hit it again because if I do, it'll erase all my keyframes. I don't want to do that. So Control Z to undo that. Instead, I'm going to use this button to set another keyframe at this setting. So I hit it and I get the keyframe right at the time we are, which is 1919. See it here, see it there. Alright, so I move one frame ahead and I make it grow again like before to, I think this one was 17.5. Oh, I'm having my freeze again. This happens occasionally, and I believe there's a funk in one of these files. I'm going to have to fight through it. 3 frames later, back to 11:5. Okay, and I do the same thing with the picture above. So I'll move back to 1919. There it goes. I'll switch pictures, which switches this picture's effects controls. I'll set my first keyframe. 1 frame later, make it larger. Come on now. And then 3 frames later, put it back. Still running a little rough. Definitely have a funk or bug in one of those pictures. I've had this happen before. Okay. Let it set. Come on, computer. Sorry that this is taking so long with this part. Once I get off this picture, it'll go a lot faster. Okay. Now both pictures have both bump keyframes. I also have to cut it off at the next base beat because I lost this in the save. So you've probably already done this. There we go again. I need to move back a couple of frames to the beginning of the beat, 2103, maybe 04, 2104. I'm going to cut my backs off again. You have probably already done this. Come on. And we're going to fade them off now like I did in the original. I'll go to the original and play this 2 pictures again. So you notice they fade off with these 2 things that are on the pictures. These are actually called transitions, kind of like we did with audio. So I'm going to add them on. It's a simple cross dissolve. So let's go ahead and get that. So the cross dissolve, I have a custom bin full of all my favorites. It's probably a good time to show you this. So if you want to create your own custom bin, there's a little bin with a star on it at the bottom of your effects panel. If you click on it, it'll make a custom bin. Then you can take your favorite effects, like say the cross dissolve, and you can drop it in to your favorite bin like that, and it adds it in. And then you can keep other ones there that you use a lot. Delete. I already have a bin full of my favorites. Of course, you can also search for it and drop it in. So again, it's a cross dissolve, cross. There it is. It's highlighted in yellow automatically as the most common of all transitions. And I'm going to take and drag it over and drop it on the very end of the picture and do it again at the end of the picture. And listen to this again. It's pretty good. Now, it may be fading a little too slow. I think on the first one, froze again. On the first one, I believe I shortened it. Now, here's how you can find this out. So if you click on an effect, you can actually select it and get controls inside of effect controls just for that transition right there. Looks like I set them to 16 frames. So I'm going to go back over. I'm going to touch it and get the controls. And for a cross dissolve, it's pretty basic. There's not much you can do. So I'm going to change it to 16 frames. Just type in 16. It shortens it. I can do the same, click and type it in, or I could manually grab it and snap it up into place. There we go. Oh, froze again. Let's get off these two pictures. So when I play it back, it continues. I actually think I'm off a little here. I'm going to adjust that and then move on. Come on. Yeah, off by 1 frame. There. Would have been easier just to type 16 in. Okay, next part are these two pictures. Same thing, 2 more pictures about the same size with 2 more base beats and a 16 frame dissolve. And we'll get to this part. Okay, so let's just do 2 more of these pictures just like we did the same. I'm going to add my next 2. I believe it's these 2 pictures, 7A and B. I can put them right up against this to continue working, or I can put them in a different track. It doesn't matter. They're the only 2 that I'll be working with. I'll drop them in place. Okay, so I need to make them the same size and position them roughly like the other 2. I'm going to use my same numbers I was using before. Remember, I was setting the picture to the left at 420. Of course, its size is too big, so I'll make it smaller. This one will need to be cropped for sure. The second picture, I'm going to set to 1020, which will put it over there, and it needs to be cropped as well. So this picture is about the size I need it. I'm going to make it 25. This picture needs to be brought into about the same size, so a crop job will be needed. So I'm going to select that picture. Sometimes if you forget which picture is which, you can use the eyeballs over here to turn on a track or off a track. So I know that this track is that picture. Okay, good. So I'm working with this one. And the triangles here will expand and collapse so I can see the images. If it's a video, I'd see frames of the video. Good enough. You can also collapse your purple background if you want. I'll leave it open. So picture A, cropped. So I'm going to go get the crop control. I'm going to drop it on top of this picture. And I'm going to crop it. I will touch today and I will do it manually. Bring it to the edge of my brother. Then the edge of me. And I'm going to have to bring a little bit of this back so they look like they're about the same size. Pretty close. Close enough. Okay, so what I'll do now is add the 2 bass bumps. You might remember how to do that from before. We have to add keyframes. I'm going to zoom in. I'll take the first picture, go to its effects controls, remember select it, move it to the beginning. I'm going to set my first scale keyframe for 45. Go ahead 1 frame. And if you can't see that in here, you can always zoom in. I'll make it larger to about, I'm going to go about there, 70. And then I'm going to go 3 frames ahead and put it back to the original number. Now I just forgot the original number, but the easiest way to remember it is you can use these arrows. The arrows, not the dot, the arrows to go back to a keyframe. 45. Alright, I'm going to go back to where I was. 1, 2, 3. Set 45. And now I've got first bump. Frozen. Come on. There we go. Having some serious issues with this previous picture set. I'm going to try not to touch it. But you'll see the bass beat is there. Alright, second bass beat right here. Sounds like, based on this beat, and of course I can zoom in to look, but I'm going with 2129. So I will set my next keyframe. I'm in the same picture. I'm going to do that twice before I go to this picture. So at 2129, zoom out so I can see it here. I'm going to set a keyframe. Remember, not the stopwatch. Once you hit that, you'll erase these. Another keyframe. 1 frame later, back to 70. Again, your numbers will probably be different based on your picture size. 3 frames forward, back to 45. Okay, second beat is in. Now I'm going to do the same to picture 7, B. Okay, I'm going to add the first keyframe for it. Go ahead 1. Make it larger to about the same size. I'm going to go with about 39. 39 looks good. I'm going to go forward 3 more. Go back to the original size. Okay, and remember, if I zoom in, I can see I've got all 3 of them. I'll go ahead to the next beat. Remember, it was 2129, just like the previous picture. I'm going to make a new keyframe right here because I've already set it. Ahead 1, 39 for me. Ahead 3 more, put it back to its original size. Remember, use your own numbers. So now we have both beats for this picture. Now we have to leave this picture to do the little 3 drop for another picture dropping backwards. So at that first beat, 2225, I'm going to cut the pictures off. I'll do them both at the same time. And I'm going to add my next picture. Going over here, you'll see a picture dropping back with the 3 beats. Save my work. Grab my next picture. Alright, it needs to be cropped for sure. I'm going to take a little bit off the right. Use the slider control. It's pretty good. Okay, I could crop this picture down even smaller. I think I did it in my original video. I'm going to leave it like it is. So, I need to now make it be 3 sizes on 3 beats, and it goes away right after that. So on the next beat, after the like, the next big beat is a new picture. So I'm going to trim this picture to that beat. Like, I need to go closer. There it is. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go with that. 2313 is when I'm going to cut this new picture off. Okay. Now it needs to go backwards 3 times. 1, 2, 3. So I'm going to go in, and I need to cut it into 3 pieces so I can make each piece different sized. 1, 2 is, I'm going to go back in frame. I'm going to say 2301 and 2308. And now I make them each different size. The first one I'll make it a little bit bigger. Just go to its motion, touch it, open up video effects controls, and make it as big as you need. I'm going to try to make it about the size of the screen here. I don't need to set a keyframe because I'm not moving it. I have 3 pictures going in 3 sizes. Second picture, not bad. I'm going to make it a hair smaller. I'm trying to make this somewhat even. I'll go like there. Okay, and the third picture, no, I'm going to make this one be smaller. That wasn't much of a jump. Maybe like that. Like. Third picture, even smaller. If you can't click on it, zoom in. Okay, I'm going to go with something like that, so it's noticeably smaller. Okay. So now we're going to go to the next picture, which we do this to. 1 picture, 2 beats, another picture, 2 beats. Let's review. That part will be fun. We're almost done with this lesson. Okay. So let's get that picture in first. For me, it looks like I used a camping picture. I have 2 versions of it. I'm going to go with the cropped one. I've already cropped this in the past inside of a photo editor like Pixlr. Alright, so make it a little smaller so I can see the bass beat happen first. I think I'll start it about that big, and I'll bump it at me full screen twice. Let's get to the end of it. So it's probably on the third beat. That third one. 3. There it is, 3. Cut it back. It looks like 25, 21 if I'm right. No, I was off by a couple. 25, 25. No. Sorry, 25, 23. Okay. So now the 2 bass beats for it. You should be getting pretty good at doing this. We've done it 4 times. Here's the 5th time. So this picture starts out at the size of 71. So I need to find the first beat, which will be right at the beginning. And I need to set my first keyframe with the stopwatch. 1 frame later, take 71 up to full size screen, about 105. 3 frames later, put it back to 71. And remember, the other keyframes are created automatically. At the next bass beat, right on it, a new keyframe, not from the stopwatch, but from this button. It's down here. 1 frame later, back to that same size. It was 105. And then 3 frames later, back to the original size. And there's 2 bass beats. Now, I decided to fade into the other picture. If you notice, there's a cross dissolve attaching these 2 pictures together like a band-aid. It blends them. So basically, we'll blend it, and then we'll deal with the bass beat on the next picture after the blend. So beside using transitions at the end of an image to make it go away, let's say, you can connect 2 images together with that to transition. I'm going to take a second to at least make you notice this inside of your video transitions. That's pretty much what we use all right now. We've had a couple effects like crop and lens flare put in, and dissolve, although we took that from the preset. We also use one audio transition to fade our song. Back to the video transition folder. There are subfolders, and in each of these folders you can do quite a bit. So essentially, on this picture, for example, if I open up a folder like 3D motion and see all sorts of various effects, I can add one to the end or the beginning and get that kind of an effect. I'm going to click on it and delete it with my delete key. You can also put it at the front and you get a cool looking effect, but sometimes using them too much can be a little amateurish as well. There's quite a few that are pretty cool, and they all do different things. Now, like this one, when I put it on, it tumbles away. If I click on it, you might remember in the effects controls, I get controls for the transition. Make it a little bit bigger. So it's fading away, and it's going towards the center of the second image, or towards the second image, which is no image at all. If I were to move this circle, it would move where it goes to. That could be cool. Control Z. I could also add a border to it. Let's go with white. Add some thickness to the line. And now it has a line around it. Now the reason it's out there is because I cropped this picture. Not going to do any of these things because I'm not going to add a tumble away. You can also reverse it, which sends it, it brings the next picture in. Of course, I'm not touching a next picture to bring it in. There's obviously quite a few others of these we can add. I'll delete that. If I go down to the folder, that 3D motion was cool. Dissolves, various dissolves. Cross dissolve is most common. The iris is kind of fun. You have various shapes like the iris round, and it's kind of similar. It goes in 2 different directions. That's kind of weird. So I'm going to reverse it and make it go away. So that's kind of cool. And I can add a line to it again like we did before. So that's kind of cool too. Give it some edge. There we are. Little white line around it. I can still aim where it goes, and I can even change its duration. So all controls that you can do to any transition using the effects control panel. One more to show you, just to give you a variation on a different one. Here's a slide. No, actually, it's going to be the flip over. If I do a flip over, it flips. If I go to controls, I can customize it. You'll occasionally see different features on different transitions. It all depends on what you're using. I can change the background fill color. I can choose the number of bands. Let's go to 3. And now I have 3 bands. Kind of cool. I'm going to throw that out. So it gives you an idea what we can do. Now, in the original, we put one picture into the next. And I made sure that that picture starts at the next bass beat, which is pretty much right here. Looks like 25, 22, so let's find that. There it is. 25, 22. Oh, this one's almost cut exactly. Bring the next picture in. And place it next to it. It's too big. I'm going to touch it and make it smaller. Looks like, oh, it's in, make it even smaller so that the bass beat looks good. Alright, now adding on a cross dissolve. We'll end with that. Let me show you a couple new variations. I could do a cross zoom. These are fun. Put it on both of them. It puts them together. Instead of one just going away, the other one's coming in as well. Pretty cool. Touch this controller. Need to zoom in. You might notice that there isn't any controls for this one. Again, they're all different. Click on it and delete it, or simply replace it. Go to a wipe, maybe the paint splatter, and play it. And that just adds over the top of the old one. Or I could do a pinwheel or clock wipe. Pinwheel. Again, controls. Looks like I can add color and some custom to it. Number of wedges. Change the number in there. How about 20? Kind of cool. Deleting that one. I'm going to use a cross dissolve instead of going through all of these. At some time, you should probably try out as many of the various transitions as you can and play with their controls as well. We're going to go to the dissolve folder and add the cross dissolve. It'll fade from one to the other. Now I need to make this one jump twice, so I need to find that bass beat back here on the first part. There it is. So I touch this picture. Now when I add a transition to a photo or a video, it actually adds more by blending it with the previous image, so it actually kind of overlaps. If I zoom in, you can kind of see that it's a nice half a second overlap. Now that overlap could be changed. I can make this longer and make the dissolve take even longer to happen. Too slow for this kind of a song. I'm going to put it back to 1 second or 100. Hold on. Okay, so a 1 second dissolve, not a longer one. We're going to add the bass beat in. So there's the first beat. Click on this next picture so we can do number changes. I'm going to set the scale. Go ahead 1 frame, make it larger. Go at 61. Ahead 3 more. Put it back. Shoot, I forgot my first one again. I'll zoom in and I'll just go back. And remember, it's 39. 1, 2, 3, 39. Okay, go ahead and do the same a little further up. There's the next one. Okay, I'll start at 2618. New keyframe with this button. Zoom out so I can see it. Ahead 1. Back to the same size I was at before. 59. Ahead 3. Back to 39 again. I think that's what it was. Now, that little noise, we're going to twist this picture out and make it go away using keyframes again. So I need to cut off the end of it first at that beat. I'm going to go right before it. 2802. Cut off your picture. Okay. Okay. To make this little weird noise twist away, I'm going to say it starts by listening. right there, 2716. I'm going to touch the picture and we're going to spin it away. Rotation is a great way to spin it away. But I also need to make it go smaller. So if I were to make a keyframe now, if I change the number, it makes a new keyframe. You've probably seen that now. If I make this change, let's say, and make it smaller, it puts a keyframe right here, and it will go smaller. So, but you see it goes from here, way back here, all the way through. I didn't want to do that. I want to hold it and then make it go. So I need to do a different keyframe than this. So I'm going to click on it and delete it with my delete key on my keyboard. So let's go find that spot again with the special noise. 2716. I'm going to set a keyframe at the same 39 that this keyframe is set at. So we'll have two of them. So that it'll go from 39 to 39, or essentially not move. Okay. Now we can spin it away to 0 and rotate it one time. One time is actually more than enough. 2 or 3 will just go overly fast. Rotation, you should remember your rules on circles. They are 360 degrees in a circle. So if I were to move this 360 degrees, I get one circle. Once it hits one circle, it says 1 times more degrees. You can see I went past 360. I'm going to just type in 360, and I get 1 times nothing. So it's flat. And that would turn it. So I'm going to put it back at 0. Now you've seen that. And we're going to make our first keyframe back here at the beginning of the noise for the rotation. So now I've made a keyframe at 0 for the rotation, and I have a keyframe holding it to the previous right here, lined up together. Let me zoom in. Now as it zooms away, I'm going to make it smaller and rotate. Let's rotate first, 360 degrees. Makes a keyframe having spun once. To prove it, just run this across. Okay, cool. It also needs to fade off into the distance. So that would be this scale. I'm going to set it to 0. And it will now do both. Of course, I want it to do it for the duration to the next beat. So I'm going to take both keyframes and move them all the way to the end. To be sure, I'm going to zoom away. You can see sometimes that doesn't always work. Now I'm at the end. If I play it back, it'll move with the music. So that's pretty cool. Okay, next. The very last part of this lesson is to add these last 3 pictures in. Pretty easy, no animation, just positioned and cropped to fit their areas, or possibly just hiding behind each other. So I need 3 pictures. So let's go back over. Let's get 3 pictures. That's one of them. That was the other. And that was the other. I'm going to take all 3 at the same time and bring them into the bin. So now I need to stagger them with each beat. Let's hear the music again and make sure what we're doing. Wait. 1, 2, 3. Let me look at that again back here. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So actually this ends at this beat. So let's straighten that out. Looks like it's 30-12. So let's go back and find it. 1, 2, 3, 1. That's the one. 1. Let's go closer, just to be sure. 1, 2, 3, 1. There it is. 30-12. I'm going to make the purple go all the way to that. Now when I add a little extra to something and I put keyframes on it, it will actually not move the keyframes. It just adds the extra without adjusting the keyframes. So if I go back and take a look at the purple, I will see that I got a little extra gap here. So I'm going to move it and put it at the new end, not here, but here. Keep that in mind. Put this back too. Okay, here we go. 3 pictures, 3 beats. First picture, I'm going to put it at the very beginning, I'm going to actually put this picture up top. I'm doing this because I want it to cover the other two. There's a reason behind it. You'll see it in a minute. First picture then comes in right there at 2802. It's way too big. I'm going to make it smaller. I guess that's pretty good right there. Your picture size will be different than mine. Now, you want this picture not to cover the whole screen. You actually want it to be a slice of something. So you're going to need to crop off stuff so you have roughly two nice open ends on each side. So whatever picture you choose for this, if it doesn't fit like mine, then you need to grab a crop, throw it on it, and cut the sides down so you can still see something here, but reveal something on the sides. So here we go. And remember, all these pictures are going to end right here at this number on the next beat at 3012. So I'm just going to trim it back to line up with the purple. The next one comes in at the next beat. 1, 2. Right there. 28, 29. Bring it in to that point. Cut off the end. Now that one shows up behind because it's under. So I'm going to take it and move it over using the effects controls. Again, I can touch it and move it, but I might move it up and down. I want to keep things in line. I'm going to find where the two of us show nicely. And you notice that this side of the picture is hiding, so I don't have to crop it. The other side's off the screen, so I don't have to crop it. I'm going to let some of this mask or hide what I'm doing. Third picture comes in at the next beat. Let's find it. There it is. Cut off the end. Oh, incidentally, I found that at 2924. Okay. Now let's see what it does. Can't see what I'm wanting to see, so I'll take this picture I just added and move it to position it. Mainly wanted to see me eating corn. Actually, I could make it smaller and get us both in there. A little bit smaller, and I don't want to go too small because then I show off my background. So I have to keep the area covered. And that little crop doesn't matter because I'm hiding it. Let me go like that. Slide it over a little so we're both in there. Can't slide it up or down because I'm at the edge. That's pretty good. So here we go. Now we're ready to move on to lesson 6, but later. Let's take a look at our final piece of work, and it should match mine. Lower than your mama's ever seen it in a lifetime. Lower than your mama's ever seen it in a lifetime. Lower than your mama's ever seen it in a lifetime. Lower than your mama's ever seen it in a. Okay, that's the end of lesson 5. We'll see you for lesson 6.